Sausage.
Hello, everyone. This is The Last Call, the show where I, Mark Kuznez, plays games that are dying before they're dead so that I can get a taste of them while they're still here. I don't know about the intro to this show. I need to figure it out because there's just nothing that's rolling off the tongue quite so much. But this is where I play games that have been recently, at the time of the recording, at the time of the playing, announced to have their servers closed, or they were delisted, or something or other that is putting them on death's door. And before it reaches said door, I want to finally scratch them off the backlog and give them a go. And with that, we have Evil Dead the game for this here episode. This is an interesting one to talk about because already it has been delisted. So this is a not a rare case, but this is an instance of somewhat similar to, I guess, X Defiant, which was announced to be going away, I think, in this summer. So I'm recording this May 31st, 2025, to give you some context, because who knows when this episode will actually go live. But I believe with X Defiant, they announced that it was going to keep going with its current season and see it through to the end. But when they announced it was dying, they took away new players from jumping into the fray. So it was no longer on stores. You couldn't download it if you were a new player. But if you were a person who was already playing it, you could enjoy it through until the end of its current and final season. And with Evil Dead the game, they delisted it from stores somewhat sporadically so that it was still available on some platforms, but not others. And it gradually, probably a little bit quicker than gradually, but it was removed from all storefronts. I already owned it on Xbox, so I am able to and was able to check it out. However, as the name of the game is implies, it is already pretty well and dead, and maybe that delisting is part of it. It also was a premium title, so it wasn't a free to play title like, well, X Define was free to play, I believe, but stuff like Realm Royale, Divine Knockout, and so on of recently or other recent games that were also ended. But I wanted to check it out. I've been meaning to check it out because it sounded like a more interesting, or at least a different take on the asymmetrical gameplay. So, like a Dead by Daylight, or to go in line with the license space of Friday the 13th, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a Killer Clowns from Outer Space, so on and so forth. Instead of it being a bunch of humans who are relatively weak trying to escape, you're going to have more agency as the human characters. You're going to be able to use weapons and guns to fend off your foes. And the goal is not escaping, but defeating the enemy. So, more in line with a Left 4 Dead type of game than Dead by Daylight, but sort of some kind of amalgamation of the two where it's structured still like a Dead by Daylight and so on. Or not Dead by Daylight. I don't have much experience with Dead by Daylight either, but more so like a Friday the 13th or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you have a set of goals and you're gradually advancing towards your end game, which in those games is escaping, and in this one is defeating the demon. But I don't know where it's going with that. That's not interesting. It also is kind of reminiscent of Predator. Hunting Grounds, I believe, is the subtitle for that game, where again you have more power as the human player. And then on the other side, as the demon, you are controlling the space, trying to find the humans and stop them from collecting the maps that will lead them to the Necronomicon, I think is the name of the book, and getting that, and then finding the dagger so that they can defeat the big bad triple monster thing that is going around. And it's a very cool effect. I will give it that. When that happens and you have the dagger and you're kind of ghost busting that's the best way I can describe it. It is very reminiscent of ghost busting, and it's a very cool looking effect. The game overall, I would say, is quite visually pleasing. I was surprised by how nice it looked, and that is part of what made me kind of sad about the whole thing. I looked at it, the visual fidelity, and being a small fan of the Evil Dead series. I have all the movies. I watched the majority of the TV show, maybe like 2/3. I never finished it, Ash versus Evil Dead, I'm referring to. So I'm a relative fan of the series, which is different from other games like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Friday the 13th, where I have little to no experience with them. So I kind of, in playing it, was a little bummed that we don't have just a normal single player game of this nature, because I would like that. I also thought to myself, it'd be a kind of fun little random game to throw into this world, especially if you set it specifically in the Army of Darkness universe, that movie, some kind of Musu game, a Dynasty Wars like. But in my playing of the game, I was immediately hit with, again, the fact that, as the name of the franchise goes, it is already pretty dead. There are quite a few modes. There's your regular, just straight up normal mode of one person is playing the demon side, and then up to 4 human players are doing the human side. Then there's also some kind of evil royale mode. I forget what it was called, but no one was playing that. And I was playing this in the evening, so the time of day you would assume that people would be playing, if anyone would be playing it. I didn't try it on the weekend, which would be the potential best time to play it, but no one was playing that mode. I think the most I ever got was another player, a single individual player who popped in there, and that just wasn't enough. So I'd have no idea what that was, because you can have up to 40 people in that mode, and I would like to know what it is, but I wasn't able to experience it. And then there are, I think, just it's quick match, which is you'll be thrown into either side. Then, do you want to play as the human specifically? Do you want to play as the demon? Do you want to search for matches that are looking for one of those types of players? Then there is an exploration mode, which allows you to just explore the 3 maps. And that's going to be one of the issues too, I think, that may have affected the game. But you can explore one of the 3 maps. They're large maps, so there is that. But allows you to explore them freely with the occasional AI attack on you. And that's a nice way of learning the map, and also being able to explore it and appreciate the work that went into designing them. And I don't think there is a lot, as not a mega fan, I can't speak to it, but I don't think there's a lot of Easter eggs and stuff to find in that sense, but maybe there is. And that would be the mode to do it in. And then there is humans. You can team up with other humans to fight against an AI demon, or just by yourself with AI teammates go up against an AI demon. So there is a nice selection of stuff for solo play, or being able to play with friends against the AI and AI demon. So I like that. And I'm not sure if the solo modes are still server dependent. So I'm curious if, when all is said and done, the game will be dead, 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 or if just the online adversarial stuff will be dead. I hope it's the former so that there is still a way to enjoy the game and at least experience it for the people who invested in it and paid for it, 'cause I believe it was a $40 game, and then there was, of course, various DLC skins and whatnot like one does for these types of games. But to get to the actual game, I played a handful of matches. I did some against the AI, and it was okay. From a gameplay standpoint, it was fine, but my bigger issue with it was the fact that while I did do the tutorial for both sides, the human side and the demon side, I don't think the demon tutorial really did a good job of in any way teaching you what you actually have to do when you're playing as that side. Because when I jumped into my first quick match, they threw me in on the demon side. I was like, "Oh, this is not what I wanted. This was not how I wanted my first match to go." And when I was playing an actual match as opposed to the tutorial, because the tutorial for both sides is really just introducing you to the mechanics, the various skills, and so on, and your relative goals. But it makes more sense on the human side where it is linearly pushing you through this section and having you do the various goals that you will have to do in an actual match to win a match. So it's having you find parts of the map and then the book and the dagger and then defeat the big bad and then destroy the book. And as the demon, it's just kind of telling you you can what is it? You can not summon, you can take over cars and you can take over these demon walking demon things around the world and you can do this, but it's not really giving you a good sense of how you go about stopping the humans who are trying to defeat you. And so when I was put into an actual match, I was in this giant world now because the tutorials take place in a very small kind of campsite area. When I was in an actual match in the real large world, these are large worlds. They're a good chunk. If you were to take a car and drive from one end to the other, it might take you 3 minutes. That's no short amount. That might be a little bit much, but they're large areas. They're larger than you might expect. This isn't a Dead by Daylight, for instance. My little experience of that, they're on much smaller scale. So when I was playing as a demon, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And humans were constantly doing things. I was the worst demon in the world. I'm sure the team that was playing against me knew that I was a level 1 noob and didn't know what I was doing. There were times where they'd have on the screen, this human's making noise. This one's making noise. I'm like, where? They're not on the screen anywhere. So clearly they're making noise outside of my vicinity of being able to hear them and see them on the screen. And I just felt at a loss the entire time. As the match started to come to an end, I finally found them. And there were times where I found them and I would summon a super demon or whatever it was called. And I would then take over that, fight them, get my butt kicked. One of the things I find that I'm sure a seasoned evil side person can deal with and knows how to handle these situations. But I feel like, and on the other side, the person, the real life person is probably saying, this is definitely a new player because I can do this to them and they don't know what the hell they're doing. Or either it's just the way all these games are broken so that this is always a viable strategy. Whenever there's some kind of thing, so maybe there's in this case, we're on the Army of Darkness map, there's a catapult and I'm trying to attack this one human character. they're on the other side of the catapult. And all we do is we just run around. We just chase each other over and over and over again around this catapult because neither of us is faster than the other. So there's no space gained between the two. It's just an endless loop. And I always look at those things because that happens I remember in Friday the 13th, where you just be running around circles in a building or in any other game of this nature. That is so often how I see confrontations play out. And there must be a way that people who play these games a lot know how to deal with those as the evil side. But for me, as someone who doesn't play a lot of these games, I have yet to figure out to do in those situations. So they just become frustrating. And I just imagine the person on the other side saying, "Look at this fucking idiot over here. They don't play these games. They don't know what they're doing." And all I can retort to that is with me saying, "You know what? You're right. I fucking suck at this." So that wasn't a great experience. I still don't understand exactly what to do because you're just in first person move, kind of a floating entity going around collecting these red orbs that give you your demon power that allow you to. I want to keep. I want to figure out the word. It's not take over. I mean, obviously, it's not take over, but the thing where you can take over someone's body, you embody. This is driving me nuts. I hate it when I can't think of a word, but you're gaining this, picking up this red stuff that allows you to either set up a trap. So there are various chests surrounding the world that the humans can open up and they'll get some goods out of. You can set up a trap there. You can set up a trap on a tree. You can take over a tree. Takeover is gonna kill me. You can. What is the word? I don't know. And it's never gonna get here. But on the human side, when I finally got to play as a human, it was more fun. And working together with a human team was fun. And I felt a greater sense of progression because it was much more clear what you had to do. And you even had some guidance where it would give you an idea of where the first part of the map is. So go to this area of the map. Uh, well, it says weird to say map, but go to this area of the environment and pick up the first piece of the map, and so on and so forth. Now go here and do this, and you get that sense of progression. And maybe that's what I was missing in that on the demon side. It actually told me where there might have been some kind of information that I just didn't miss because I was so overwhelmed by being thrown into the deep end, or getting the sense that I was getting thrown into the deep end. But on the human side, following those goals, it feels much more like a sense. You have a sense of progression, and that you are constantly achieving something, and being able to work with others as well gives you the chance to I don't know. It's nice working with a team as opposed to by yourself because the demon side in this game is solo. You don't. It's more like Friday the 13th because in Texas Chainsaw Massacre you have multiple evil people, monsters, killers, and in here you're just a single person controlling everything. So you can summon new demons and whatnot, and if you build up enough of your points as the demon, you can summon in a boss demon that you select at the beginning of the round, and that all have their different strengths and weaknesses. And then the survivors, the humans, have various classes. I think you have warrior, support, and two other ones, and they'll have their perks as well. One of the things you have to do in this game is to worry about your sanity so that when you are in darkness or away from your teammates, your sanity meter will start rising. And if you get too crazy, I don't know how it negatively affects you outside of having a very irritating, constant noise play. And the way you deal with that is some people will have ability skills that can lower it, or you collect matches and then you light a campfire on fire or a lantern, and then you stay in the light for a certain amount of time and get rid of that. But you're just doing what you're doing to get to the goals again, collecting the map pieces, getting the dagger, defeating the boss, and destroying the Necronomicon, and so on. And it's a solid time, seemingly on that on the human side at least. But again, the demon side, I couldn't figure it out. And with the game being as dead as it is, it's not sad because it did survive 3 years, last 3 years. But again, to go back to why I think maybe it didn't have the legs is that it only has these 3 maps that are presumably based on I'm not sure. We have, of course, the Army of Darkness map, and then maybe one of them is based on the first 2 movies, and then one's Ash versus Evil Dead, but I'm not entirely sure because it's been a while since I watched the first 2 movies. My memory of them is, the first one is a very low budget but solid movie. Then you have the second movie that just kind of, with a bigger budget, redoes the first movie, but bigger and better. And then, of course, Army of Darkness is way out there, time travel and all that jazz. Very fun movie, very different type of vibe, even though not so much tone, not a different tone, but just a different vibe. But you only have these 3 maps, and while they are large, it's gonna feel samey quite fast, and I feel like with a lot of these games, but I when I look at Dead by Daylight, I don't know if there are a lot of different maps or not, because every time I see someone playing it, or anytime I see gameplay of it, it feels like it's the same map for everyone. What do I really know? But I look at it and think, I like some more variety in the maps, but maybe that is, again, just me, because I don't see that as a complaint I hear about often. I don't think the Texas Chainsaw I don't know. I can't really speak. As someone who's not a regular player of games like this, I feel like people who love these games and play these games will look at me and say, like, "What do you don't even know what you're talking about because you don't play." And that is true. But I think to that point, you should look at someone like me who is open to these games, willing to give them a shot, and taking that criticism as, maybe there are these things that could be changed, or things that, if they happen, the game you enjoy would get a larger audience and last longer and still be here. Maybe there was a alternate way in which Evil Dead the game would still be here, but it is not. And again, I'm not sure if when servers are finally gone, if the single player content will also be gone. I hope not. 'Cause like I said, the exploration mode is a nice way of being able to appreciate all the work that went into the game, and they throw in the enemies at you every now and again so you can still get a little actual gameplay in it while you're doing that. And then there is the ability to play against AI, and you can do that with human teammates as well. So if you have a group of friends who you all like the game and we're playing it, you'd still be able to do that together. That would be nice to still have that persist, but that might be server related. Again, who knows? That information already might be out there, but I'm not sure. But yeah, Evil Dead, the game, is a dead game, literally. And yeah, I hope those who played it during its 3-year run had a good time with it. And hopefully you're able to find something else to fill your time with now. So let's pour one out for Evil Dead the game. You were a game. 3 years, 3 years is nothing to scoff at either. Yeah, that'll do it for this your episode of The Last Call. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, a private Discord channel, along with some fancy Discord roles, and the random drop on the Patreon here or there depending on your tier. Or you could just support me to support me if that is your fancy. That is again patreon.com/pxs. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. That is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye bye.
It's go time. Go It's go time.